These two have sold their souls, and they've sold Harry's family down the river. It's unforgivable, and it will leave a bitter taste in the mouths of millions of people. So we can hear from those PAs, who I know at least one of them was regularly reduced to tears by the bullying from Meghan Markle. And if Meghan doesn't think she did bully, of course she can sue me, because I've said it now.
Meghan Markle has finally broken her silence after her viral video sparked massive backlash, and her response has left millions shocked. Let's break down exactly what happened. So, Meghan Markle is back in the headlines, but this time it's not for a new royal expose, a podcast episode, or a philanthropic event that captured hearts. No, the spotlight this time is far less forgiving. What started as a seemingly harmless video on Instagram, pitched as a lighthearted, empowering moment about motherhood, has snowballed into something much bigger, a full-blown public relations meltdown. The video, which Meghan apparently believed would show her authentic, humorous side, instead landed with a thud. Viewers described it as awkward, tone-deaf, and even performative. The once carefully curated public image of Meghan Markle, fierce, misunderstood, brave, suddenly felt forced. The backlash was swift, and it wasn't just coming from random corners of the internet. Executives at major streaming platforms reportedly started panicking. Fans who had once defended her without question were now unsure. And the timing couldn't have been worse. With Netflix already on edge about the upcoming second season of With Love, Meghan, the viral video was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Let's back up a bit. The video in question showed Meghan dancing, speaking into the camera, and trying to present herself as a fun, relatable mom. But many people noticed something was off. The tone felt overly rehearsed. The humor didn't quite land, and what should have been a quirky moment of personal branding turned into a magnet for criticism. Social media erupted with commentary. Not just from haters, but from longtime followers who felt like the performance lacked sincerity. One detail that quickly took over the conversation was what appeared to be a baby bump. And while there's no confirmed pregnancy announcement, that bump sparked endless speculation online. People began questioning everything. Was it real? Was it symbolic? Was it a setup for a larger PR narrative? Because of this unexpected distraction, the focus of Meghan's video, the empowering message, was completely lost. It gets worse because this isn't just a bad look socially, it's bad for business. Inside Netflix, there's reportedly major disagreement among leadership. According to insiders cited by outlets like The Spectator and The Daily Mail, co-CEO Greg Peters was furious behind closed doors, concerned that Meghan's recent actions were hurting the company's credibility. Her public image was no longer seen as an asset, but a liability. And that's not just speculation. Following the release of her docuseries Harry and Meghan, Netflix had been cautiously optimistic, but the momentum quickly faded. The idea that Meghan Markle could carry an entire media franchise was always a gamble, but now that gamble is starting to look like a very expensive miscalculation. Even Ted Sarandos, the other Netflix co-CEO, who has historically been more sympathetic to Meghan, was said to be rethinking his stance. According to anonymous insiders quoted in British media, there's internal pressure to distance the platform from her entirely. Because when your streaming service becomes the butt of the joke thanks to one of your stars, damage control kicks in fast. Meanwhile, over at Paramount, things were even more decisive. The company reportedly severed ties with Meghan without much public fanfare. It wasn't a public cancellation, it was quieter, more strategic. Studios started pulling away. Some ghosted her entirely. Others, allegedly, decided not to move forward with projects they had discussed with her team. The message was clear. Her brand was becoming too unpredictable. And in Hollywood, unpredictability isn't charming. It's risky. Meghan may have once had the glow of a cultural disruptor, but now she's viewed by some insiders as a PR crisis waiting to happen. And here's the kicker. Meghan didn't back off. Instead, she released a statement doubling down on the intentions behind her Instagram video. She said it was about reclaiming her identity, about showing that motherhood hadn't stripped her of her sense of humor or passion. She positioned herself as a voice for modern moms, juggling kids, self-doubt, and societal expectations. But it didn't land the way she hoped. Critics felt she missed the mark entirely, and even some of her most loyal followers weren't convinced. And because the internet never sleeps, the scrutiny kept building. The odd-looking baby bump in the video became the epicenter of a whole new wave of commentary. Observers noticed the shape seemed to shift depending on the camera angle, and some pointed out inconsistencies in its positioning. While there is no confirmation and no official comment from Meghan or her reps, theories began circulating online. Some believed it was simply a styling issue or the result of camera distortion. Others weren't so generous. The speculation got so loud that media outlets had to step in, reminding readers that there's been no official pregnancy announcement and warning against jumping to conclusions. But the damage had already been done. Once people start questioning your authenticity, especially in the world of celebrity, it's incredibly hard to win them back. Then came what many are calling the most baffling move yet. In the middle of the backlash, Meghan recorded a podcast-style monologue. No interviewer, no dialogue, just her speaking into a mic for nearly an hour. In it, she addressed the video, her critics, and her views on parenting. At one point, she referred to herself in the third person, saying, "The world hasn't seen the real Meghan yet." That single line set off a wave of reaction across media circles and online platforms. It was seen by many as self-aggrandizing and disconnected from reality. Critics argued that this was not the time for another speech. It was the time for reflection, or at the very least, recalibration. But instead of pulling back, Meghan leaned in. She insisted her message was vital, that too many people lose themselves after having children, and that she was simply trying to be a symbol of joy, humor, and balance in parenting. However, viewers weren't buying it. Not because motherhood isn't a powerful narrative, but because the messenger, in this case, felt out of sync with the message. You see, when you live in a multi-million-dollar mansion, have multiple staff members helping with childcare, and enjoy the luxury of global fame, it's hard to position yourself as a relatable mom. And this disconnect was at the heart of the criticism. Meghan may have believed she was speaking for moms everywhere, but many felt she was speaking at them, not with them. The vibe didn't feel inclusive or down to earth. It felt curated, even staged. And because of that, the public tuned out. Not because they hate her, not because of some mass conspiracy, but because they simply couldn't connect. And in a digital age where connection is everything, that's a fatal misstep. But we're just getting started. What happened next behind? The scenes with Netflix and Meghan's upcoming projects took the situation from bad to worse, and the rumors surrounding what she's trying to do now have sparked even more controversy. Behind the scenes at Netflix, things were starting to fall apart. The second season of With Love, Meghan, the show that was supposed to cement her place in the streaming world, was already struggling. According to reports from sources cited by multiple outlets including The Spectator, early test screenings were disappointing to say the least. Viewers described the episodes as hollow, overly polished, and even unwatchable. There was no buzz, no emotional hook, just a feeling that the content was more about protecting Meghan's image than sharing something real. Even supporters, who had previously praised her vulnerability and willingness to speak out, were now calling it out for what it was: overproduced and disconnected from what audiences want. Because of this, Netflix found itself caught between a rock and a hard place. On one side, they had Meghan Markle, a global name, a royal brand, and someone they had already invested heavily in. On the other side, they had the numbers, and the numbers weren't looking good. Greg Peters reportedly began lobbying to quietly kill the project, or at the very least, prevent it from getting renewed. But Meghan wasn't giving up so easily. According to speculation reported in the Daily Mail, she was allegedly pushing for a third season before the second one even aired. That raised a lot of eyebrows. Why would someone pitch a continuation of a show when the current one hadn't proven itself yet? Insiders claimed she was using all her leverage to keep it alive. What that leverage is exactly remains unclear. But the rumors quickly escalated, some even alleging that Meghan had a deeper influence on Netflix's decision-makers than just her content deals. Let's be clear, there is no public proof of anything inappropriate. These are unconfirmed rumors. However, the fact that they exist at all shows just how much Meghan's name has become entangled in media skepticism and corporate unease. And when even rumors start gaining traction, it signals a loss of control over the narrative. Outside the Netflix boardroom, the situation was just as bleak. Public support for Meghan was visibly crumbling. Social media accounts that had once posted daily affirmations, quotes, and defenses of Meghan's actions were now deleting posts, going silent, or, in some cases, outright turning against her. The shift was stark. Comment sections used to be full of "Yas Queen" energy. Now, it was sarcasm, criticism, and disbelief. People questioned her motives, her timing, and most of all, her judgment. And the Instagram algorithm wasn't being kind either. Engagement on Meghan-related posts dropped noticeably following the viral video. It gets even worse when you consider how much of Meghan's current public relevance depends on audience engagement. Without that, her platform loses value, and so do her partnership. Late-night talk shows began cracking jokes about her again, a shift that many believe signals something deeper than pop culture fatigue. Even media outlets that once championed her, especially during the royal fallout with the UK press, started to back off. Headlines became more neutral, more critical. The honeymoon phase between Meghan Markle and the media seems to be officially over. And when the press that once supported you starts keeping their distance, it's usually a sign that your reputation is in free fall. Despite this, Meghan continued to insist that the backlash was unfair, that people were misunderstanding her intentions. In her most recent public remarks, she doubled down, again, on the idea that she was trying to spark a conversation about joy in parenting, especially for mothers who feel invisible. But again, her critics weren't buying it. The issue wasn't the message, it was the delivery. And unfortunately, delivery is everything when it comes to public perception. The most bizarre twist in all of this? Meghan's decision to frame her missteps as part of a larger misunderstood hero narrative. According to her podcast-style monologue, she still sees herself as someone who's finding her voice and reclaiming her power. That would be a compelling arc, if it wasn't starting to sound like a broken record. Critics say this kind of framing feels manipulative. Instead of taking accountability or showing growth, it comes off as deflection. One commentator even compared it to rebranding a PR disaster as a personal journey, and unfortunately, the metaphor stuck. And when your entire public strategy starts to feel like a branding exercise, it becomes very difficult for people to emotionally invest. Meanwhile, Meghan's team is reportedly scrambling to reframe the narrative ahead of With Love, Meghan's Season 2's release. But there's very little promotion, no major press tour, and no real buzz. Netflix, for their part, appears to be bracing for impact, perhaps hoping the storm will pass quietly. But with the internet already primed to pounce and critics sharpening their knives, silence might not be enough to save this launch. Insiders say the show has already been re-edited multiple times in an attempt to salvage the tone. Still, if early reactions are any indicator, the damage may already be done. And it's not just about a show anymore, it's about a brand that's slowly losing its credibility. Meghan Markle's rise to fame has always been polarizing. For every fan who sees her as a survivor of the royal machine, there's a critic who sees her as an opportunist. And because of that, everything she does, every interview, every statement, every video, is scrutinized more intensely than most. But there's a line between scrutiny and rejection, and right now, it's starting to feel like the public has crossed that line. Not because of one viral video, but because of a pattern, one that feels increasingly out of touch with the real world. Meghan may still believe she's building a legacy, but to many, it looks more like she's chasing relevance. And when public figures lose the plot and refuse to adapt, that's often when the curtain falls. In the end, this entire saga serves as a cautionary tale, not just for Meghan Markle, but for any public figure who thinks relatability can be manufactured, that authenticity can be curated, or that empathy can be demanded. Audiences are sharper than ever. They can tell when something's off, even if they can't always articulate why. Meghan's video was supposed to inspire. Instead, it alienated. It was meant to empower. Instead, it exposed the widening gap between her message and the reality most people live in. And once that gap becomes too wide to bridge, it's incredibly hard to walk it back. So, what do you think? Is this the beginning of the end for Meghan's media empire? Or just a rough patch that she can bounce back from with the right strategy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you made it this far, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next deep dive into the biggest moments in celebrity news. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.